Hi everybody, so it's time for my Game of the Year video. Now normally I do these kind of where I just kind of show you the Game of the Year. So there you go, that's my Game of the Year in my opinion. But this time I'm going to do a little bit of a build up to it by talking about some other games as well, which for me anyway were in the running. And remember, I don't actually play that many new games every year. You know, I dedicate myself basically to Daisy, PUBG, armor stuff, and then other games do come along which I do play when they sort of tickle my fancy, and funnily enough this year these are the games. So the gameplay you're seeing here is of course Resident Evil 4 Remake, and what's common with this one, with a couple of the other games as well, is that this is a rock solid single player experience, and Capcom really have dialed in and know exactly what they're doing with these Resident Evil remakes. Now, I know there's been a little bit of pushback from the Resident Evil community recently about, oh, do we really want more remakes? We'd rather have another title in the series, you know, taken forward to sort of Resident Evil 9 and stuff like that. But I have to say, I've loved them all, and Resident Evil 4 is a diamond among them as well. Maybe not the best one. I think maybe Resident Evil 2 Remake is the best, but it is a rock solid video game. The shooting is really good, the atmosphere is really good. I love the way that it's slow, you know, that the movement is slow, and the fact that the character covers the screen. A lot of it means that you can't really see what's going on a lot of the time. That adds to the tension. Of course, it's a survival game, a shooter survival, so you've got to think about conserving ammo, hitting those headshots. Leon's melee system is really good. The story is quite interesting. It looks absolutely beautiful, and it is well worth playing. And then we have the DLC for it with it, Separate Ways, which recently came out, and that adds more action as you play as Ada Wong. So Resident Evil 4 Remake, absolutely fantastic, worth playing. Even if you haven't played any of the remakes, or even a Resident Evil game, maybe even for a long time, it's a solid video game video game. Really good. And going on to the next one, which again is a similar sort of thing, is Starfield. Starfield, wow. Of course, it was a big gamble, I think, creating a game like this for Bethesda, whereby it's not a massive open world like Fallout 4 or Fallout 3 or Fallout 76, something like that. In Starfield, it's very much dozens of different, well, more than dozens of different locations, which once you've explored around, you then, in effect, fast travel from one to the other in your spaceship. Lots of people thought it might be like something like Elite Dangerous, or sort of the, you know, those space flight sims, and it's not like that at all. The combat in space is okay and enjoyable once you're powerful enough. But I think what makes Starfield special is the environment, and it's gone from strength to strength in the way that it looks and runs as well on PC and console. And you know, the simple storytelling. It's no Cyberpunk 2077 1.0 patch onwards, but it gets pretty close a lot of the time. There's lots of interesting stories, there's lots of different ways of completing what you need to do. Although I finished, and again, the term finish when it comes to Starfield is a little bit odd because I don't want to give anything away, but the game continues after you've finished it in interesting ways. But when I got to that point, I hadn't explored probably 3/4 of the different missions and things that you could do in the side missions. So it's one of those games which is amazing value for money, looks really good, plays, I think, really good, and what they've got right and what they've got better is the shooting. It's a good first person, or third person, but first person shooter. There's lots of different guns, snipers to shotguns to energy weapons, and that all feels great. And yeah, I've enjoyed it immensely, and I think for lots of people it will be their game of the year, as Resident Evil 4 Remake will come in. Call of Duty Zombies. So Modern Warfare 3, gosh, Modern Warfare 3. Again, a lot of criticism came in for Modern Warfare 3 because we know that it was meant to be a DLC for Modern Warfare 2. We know this because it's released, the multiplayer released with Modern Warfare 2 remastered maps in it. So obviously this originally was going to be a premium DLC, and a lot of us who pre-ordered it, we played the campaign early, and although the campaign finished strongly, it wasn't a great Call of Duty campaign. It was kind of okay, a bit crap to start off with, but you know, got better. and it's a solid multiplayer. But with those two things, you couldn't take away the fact that, okay, but why are they charging £70 for this game when really it is a DLC? And then we have the Zombies mode. And I think this came very, very close to being my game of the year. The Zombies mode in Modern Warfare 3, kind of bringing the whole package through. Because it is so much fun. Even if you're not a Zombies fan, if you haven't really played it before, like myself, I've dabbled a little bit, but I've kind of always found it too difficult because I'm a solo player. And normally to do Call of Duty Zombies, you need to either really know what you're doing as a solo player. But if you're a beginner solo player, you don't. You run around and you open up some doors and you go through a few levels and then you die. And it's like, oh, right, okay. But this is genius. The way that they've turned DMZ, if you're aware what that is, into Zombies is just brilliant. In effect, COD Zombies for Modern Warfare 3 is a extraction shooter. So you take a helicopter into this area, and then you've got roughly 45 minutes to wander around, and there's various contracts you can do. You can follow the story missions, you can just go around, shoot zombies, get stuff, and then if you successfully extract, so get a helicopter out without dying, you take the stuff with you. So from round to round, to run, your character can get more powerful because you have better armor plates, you have better guns, etc., etc. But the genius things are they made it PvE only, so different players can't kill you. So even though you spawn in with other players, other teams and things, they can't shoot you. So that's brilliant. In fact, you can work together and help each other. And the difficulty is changed by how far you go into the middle of the map. So as a solo player and a beginner, you can hang around on the outside of the map, and there's plenty of things to do. And although it is challenging and you will die if you're not careful, it's not punishing. But then, when you're more powerful or you fancy more of a challenge, you can then move in. And it really does reward tactical thinking. Because when I first started playing and doing some of the contracts, I was thinking, you can't do this as a solo player. It's impossible, it's too difficult. But then when you get to know the game, you can, because you think, okay, if I take a couple of airstrikes and I've got plenty of spare plates, and if I pack a punch weapon and a spare weapon, and these perks, I've got a chance of doing this. And generally, you will then have and be able to do that. So, really fantastic game mode. Well worth the price of admission. I think if this was free, like Warzone is free, I think Call of Duty would have won 2023 with this mode, because it is so much fun. It's so beginner friendly, and yet is also friendly to more advanced players, because you have that. You can go into level 2, you can go into the middle of the map where it's very, very challenging to survive, and that gives people the challenge that way. However, it's not my game of the year. Game of the year has to be Hogwarts Legacy for me, because I'm not a massive Harry Potter fan. I was too old when the books came out and the films came out. I mean, I read them to my kids and we watched the films together, and I enjoyed them, and they were okay, but I always thought Lord of the Rings was better. But they were good. I'm not knocking them. They were good, great films, great books. But Lord of the Rings is what I grew up with. But this video game is one of those rare things in the fact that it has many absolutely magical moments. And one of the biggest ones is when you get your broom and then you're flying around Hogwarts Castle. It is just amazing. It is absolutely fantastic. Hogwarts Legacy got delayed a few times, and I remember seeing footage when they were kind of promoting it, and I remember seeing your character flying around on the broomstick. I thought, this looks really, really good. Really, really good. And it just called to me. And I thought, although this is completely different from the games I normally show on the channel, with DayZ and PUBG and things like that, thought we were going to give it a go. So I bought it, I pre-ordered it and played it, and really fell in love with it. It is an excellent single player open world-ish campaign. Lots of the things are similar when you're in the open world, but the combat is great, the spell casting is great. There's many, many parts of it where you'll do these missions and you'll be like, oh wow. You could argue, and in fact, if you wrote down what you actually do in the game, you'd probably say, well, isn't it very repetitive? Because lots of things tend to be repetitive, but because the level design is so good and it's so much fun fighting and doing and flying around and doing stuff, is that you don't really notice that. It's very apparent as well that things are missing from the game as well. although we've got the stadium for the flying game that they play, you don't actually do any of that. Maybe there'll be DLC for it. I'm not sure that way. Also, the things you do throughout the game, you have lots of choices in the way that you behave. I don't think they really make that much difference at the end of the game, but I think originally there was probably going to be some quite different endings. But you know, they obviously, the person who was their editor or their creative director, who probably had to say at some point, look, we've got to cut this. What they left in the core of Hogwarts Legacy is absolutely brilliant, absolutely amazing. There's all these side things like the room of I forgot what it's called now. I think it's the room of enlightenment or something, where you have your own little base where you have these little zoos where you can capture your animals, and then you have them there and you can collect things like the feathers off them so you can make potions, and all this side stuff that you can do, which is really, really cool. It's absolutely fantastic, Hogwarts Legacy. Game of the year, absolutely. I think it's I think it's going to get lost off and missed off a lot of people's lists, basically because of the kind of political controversy that goes around Harry Potter, which is a great shame, I think, because you could almost say it's the perfect single player video game, because it really is that special, and just the magical moments are what do it for me. They really are, and well done, because to the Hogwarts Legacy dev team, because they've created something special. It almost wasn't my game of the year, because their PR company gave my YouTube channel a copyright strike for a video that was about modding, and it wasn't even modding a cheat or anything like that. It was just how to back up your save, and that really annoyed me for a few months, the fact that they did that. But I went back and I played it and flew around on the roof and I was like, no, this is a magical video game, and is absolutely 100% my game of the year. So check it out. I'm sure you'll enjoy it, no matter if you're into DayZ, PUBG, Rust, ARM, or anything like that. If you want a video game, it's absolutely magical, whether you're a Harry Potter fan or not. Hogwarts Legacy is brilliant, and that is my game of the year 2023. Thank you very much for watching. What do you think? Put your games of the year in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, hit like, press subscribe, and I will of course see you again soon.